But let's start off with like the fact that in my 375, I've got a ton of yellow tangs,
I
and
saw.
they're worth a lot of money now.
Leave them alone. They're so bad.
They
Every time you
lost.
set up a tank, let me tear it down and give it all away or sell it off or whatever.
But
It's
they
funny.
technically never get sold. I usually give them away or donate them to the
Right.
store or whatever. But those yellow tangs, and so I know what happened, but a lot of viewers won't know what happened with the fisheries and why yellow tangs went from being a $30, $100 fish to like 500. So what's going on there? And the problem is everybody knew this was going to happen, and nobody did anything. Well, we tried, but some tried.
There's a couple of groups in Hawaii that are constantly fighting the aquarium trade.
Mm.
And they basically are doing an emotional plea to people about these poor animals that are suffering and how they deserve to be in the ocean where they have all this space. And then they love to share like one picture of like a bunch of yellow tangs dead on the ground. It's the same picture they've been showing for like 12 years. And I don't even know where that picture came from. It probably was like Fish and Wildlife caught some guy illegally taking fish from the ocean without a permit. And
Yeah.
then they laid it all out for proof. And now, ever since, this is what's happening. The
Yeah.
aquarium trade is murdering all the yellow tangs, which is crazy because I've got a yellow tang in this tank that I've had for 7 years. I've
Yeah.
got a Nassau tang in this tank named
You have a
Spock
yellow
I've had
tang
since
with that
2004.
with that purple tang?
And the purple. Yep. They've been
Those
together
are
all this time.
those purple tangs, man. I love them, and I
Yeah.
think they're awesome. But man, they will not stop. They just want to fight,
Yeah. Yeah,
and they will
they are
fight
aggressive.
until they die.
Yeah.
I had a purple tang, and he fought my
Vicious.
yellows. Yeah, I see. It keeps them go back and forth. He fought my yellow tangs so much, but there was 7 of them or 8 of them, however many's out there. And if he went one-on-one with them, he probably would have won. But he's going one-on-one with 7 constantly
Right.
all day long, and they got a little tattered. But he started like where his thing is, the spine on base of his tail was
scalpel.
all raw, and so I had to net him, save him,
Wow.
nurse him back to health,
crazy.
and then put him back in. And then he just did it again to himself. So I was like, that's it. That's enough for you.
Jeez.
I'm like, you're gonna end up
Wow.
killing yourself in there. But so yeah,
But no, I've got these 2 fish that I'm talking about. They're both from Hawaii, the yellow tang and the Nassau tang.
Yeah.
And I've had the Nassau
Nassau.
since 2004. So I've had it 15, 16, 17. I don't know. I can't do math on camera. It's like 15 years or 16 years I've had this fish.
21.
And I've been feeding it every day. And I'm thinking, they're so worried about us killing off stuff. A lot of us want our fish long term because it is difficult. It's not just a matter of acclimate and drop in the tank and boom, you're done. There's actually effort involved. There's fish disease to be contended with. There's maintaining the life support nonstop 24 hours a day, no matter what happens in your city.
Yeah.
And then if you move or change jobs or whatever, the tank continues to have to live. You
Yeah.
are in charge of it. And so anyway, to get back to your question, the fisheries were finally closed. They finally got their emotional appeal. They got enough people in Hawaii to basically stand up and fight the horrible thing that the aquarists are doing while they do nothing
Stand up to
about
that picture taken 12 years ago.
But I mean, think about it. They're not doing anything about the catching fish for food.
Yeah.
Or the catching fish for sport,
Yeah.
where they are doing it constantly. There's no limit to what you can do. I mean, I'm sure there's some limit, but as far as we're concerned, we are like 1% of the problem
Oh
versus
yeah. Yeah.
all of what's going on, and yet it was closed, and so now you can no longer get fish from Hawaii, and that affects other fish. For example, a lot of people like the Achilles tang.
Yeah.
It's not even from Hawaii, but it has to go through Hawaii to come to the States. And with Hawaii closed, there will never be an Achilles tang brought in because that was the port of call. That was the spot. I don't even know how they're going to do it now. So,
Well, I mean, that's politics for you.
yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe a year from now they'll prove. Because the thing is, and I didn't mention this, but they asked for specific like reports showing how the population of the yellow tangs are doing. Are the evil hobbyists destroying them, decimating their population? Are they just stealing them all? And the numbers are up. The numbers continue to go up. There's actual data. And that's the crazy part, that the politicians ignored the data and just decided to go with the human rights side of it and just these poor, poor animals. And the thing is, that's usually the starting point, because then later on it'll be, we're going after puppies, we're going after kittens, we're going after, eventually you can't have any kind of pet whatsoever is kind of the end goal of some of these groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like that. I like pets.
It's dangerous.
I like my
road.
dogs, and cats, and fish. It's interesting to think about, though, especially with the yellow tang, because they are a relatively common fish. I mean, they are a
Yeah.
staple. Everybody's got a yellow tang. I never liked yellow tangs, and I didn't like a lot of saltwater tanks or fish either. I never wanted
Mhm.
one because if I seen one saltwater tank, I saw them all. Because they do
Yeah.
have, for the longest time, the smallest pool of fish to pick from that are going to be
Mhm.
compatible with what they're doing, and it just happens to be the same 10 to 20 fish. So everybody's tanks, in my opinion, were looking the same. Sort of like African cichlid tanks. They all look the same at some points, like the Malawis and peacock
Yeah.
tanks and whatnot. They don't, because once I saw a yellow tang in person, I was
Mhm.
able to appreciate its rich yellow coloration. Very deep yellow, unless it's stressed out. Maybe it'd be a little white. And the shape of its body and its snout. And there's so many things that I like about it that are so unique, that are so interesting as to how it came to look like that. And there's nothing like that in freshwater.
What I really like about the yellow tang is when you see a super healthy one.
Yeah.
When you see a really thick, fat one, and I don't mean like overweight, I just mean its body is thick. It's not thinned out. There's not a sunken stomach. Those things just glow with color. They're gorgeous. And, you'll come across that when you visit hobbyists. Like, oh, look at this yellow tang. It's like the perfect yellow tang on the planet. And you're just like, how did you do that? And,
I have
I mean,
1.5 of those.
I know you said they're all getting picked on.
I got
So it
one
kinda
that's
beats
like
out
For
gorgeous.
each other.
Gorgeous,
I can't
fat
find mine
belly,
right now.
perfect fins, and then one that's a little bit of nipped fins. It's just the hierarchy
Yeah.
of the tangs, and then
Yeah.
the rest are like a lot of their. It's all coming back now that I've rescaped the tank and
Yeah.
I've changed their diet and whatnot. But man, they will not stop eating, no matter what I give them. Some just will not put on the weight, others won't color up, etc. And I'm feeding, algae 2-3 times a day, and I'm feeding pellets and prepared foods, frozen foods, everything going in with a big emphasis on greens, of course. But
Yeah.
it's at some point I'm like, bro, maybe I don't need 7. Maybe I'll just have that one really cool one.
Yeah.
But I
Aw.
really like them, and you don't see a
No,
lot
it's
of
nice
them.
to have a school or a shoal.
Yeah, it's not very common to see. Yeah, they certainly don't school. Definitely a shoaling fish,
Right.
but it's just something you don't see all the time. Some people have a shoal of yellow tangs, but
Or flame angels or something.
yeah. But the clownfish, the reason why I wanted to have a harem and have a dedicated tank was definitely inspired by your little cube.